Years ago, there was this little project by Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez by the name of Grindhouse. And basically, it was two movies, one about a zombie apocalypse starring Rose McGowan, and the other was sort of a slasher flick, but not really. It was more of a action crime thriller starring a bunch of ladies versus the kid from the Computer Wore Tennis Shoes, the original. Can't think of his name right now, but he also played the main lead in Escape from New York. Kurt Russell. Anywho, along with the film, there were several fake trailers. One about machete-wielding vigilante, which eventually got its own movie and a sequel. A period piece about fascists in the National Socialist Party and their female werewolf troops. Yeah. And finally, Thanksgiving, about a slasher who targeted people during the American holiday where we eat a bunch of turkey and try not to think about what happened to the Native Americans thanks to the Pilgrims. Well, now that Halloween's come and gone, it's time to have yet another killer holiday, because Thanksgiving, they had to change the name slightly, has come to bloody life. And you can tell that this film was made by fans of the classic slasher flicks and the works of Tarantino and Rodriguez. Because this film is extreme. It starts with Black Friday being quote-unquote celebrated during Thanksgiving rather than after. And let's just say it gets a little pear-shaped. Cut to a year later, it's Thanksgiving again, and this time, a pilgrim going by the name of John Carver, who's based on an actual pilgrim from Thanksgiving, goes around dealing with survivors of the previous year. Let's just say there's a lot of carving, a lot of giblets, and a lot of very, very red gravy. The gore effects in this film are awesome. They're 100% practical. They use cuts to allow for practical dummy effects to be done in the extreme. I don't think there's a single scene of CGI gore. I don't know, maybe it was just really, really good CGI, but for the most part, the stuff looked 100% practical. The various characters we get to see, survivors from the original night, and side characters, they were all colorful, lively, and some of them were actually pretty likable. This film made you care about slasher victims. Well, most of them. A couple of them, you're not going to weep at their funerals. But others, you felt sorry for them. That's when you play a character a little too well. Because normally you cheer the victim's demise. But here, you felt dirty cheering their demise. Well, the demise of most of them. As for John Carver himself, I'm going to say him because the character's mask is masculine. Yeah, mask is masculine. He's simple, he's well made, and while normally slashers seem unstoppable, this one felt organic. You could fool him, but at the same time, he felt almost as unstoppable as Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers. And his weapon of choice, we've seen plenty of slashers use an axe before, but never an antique axe. It's usually a more modern axe. And it fits because the weapon came from the time of the Pilgrims, supposedly. So it gives new life to a classic slasher weapon. And the slasher himself wields it effortlessly, but he's not constrained to just one weapon. He uses what works, and that's what makes him so effective. The film's runtime is not bad. It's like an hour 45, and that allows for a good setup, complete with an amazing cold open, which honestly was enough for me. Yeah, they could have ended the film there, and I would have given it 4 stars already. But the continuation of the story didn't have too many slow points, and any points that could be deemed slow were still entertaining to watch. You had to pick apart each character to figure out who might be John Carver. There are some red herrings, but ultimately the payoff is simple but decently satisfying. And it makes you wonder if there's going to be a sequel, since certain things are revealed at the end and certain plot points are left open, which might make for a satisfying revisit. The setting itself, Plymouth, it's a timeless, small town sort of atmosphere, but at the same time, it shows modern sensibilities in that when people become consumers, they practically become cannibalistic. You can see the ugliness underneath the small town charm, but at the same time, there are characters who are more positive than the bulk of the town. So yeah, overall, Thanksgiving was a good slasher classic, a good holiday classic, and just a really good movie overall. For those of you still suffering from Halloween blues, the fact that the spookiest night of the year has come and gone, but you're not ready for it to go, this would be good to watch between Halloween and Thanksgiving. Right there with the Charlie Brown Thanksgiving. Just remember the popcorn, jelly beans, and pretzels. This is Mr. J signing out and reminding you that just because a holiday isn't naturally scary doesn't mean you can't make a slasher flick out of it, especially when it's made by fans. And this movie was made by fans. Happy Thanksgiving. Try not to feel too guilty about overeating when there's still starvation in the world. I know, I'm terrible. And bon appetit.